Hallihallo, wir stehen hier bei Fallout Wasteland Warfare und bei Modiphius und ich habe neben mir Chris Birch, den Chef des Verlags. Hello Chris.
Hi.
I've got some question for you.
Sure.
I've heard that you've cooperated developing the game with Bethesda.
Yeah.
Can you describe the working experience with them? Did they set any guidelines or did you have total freedom developing the game?
Well, we were very lucky because a lot of them are tabletop gamers. They have their own role-playing, board game, war games group that meets in the office. So we had a very cool concept that we pitched to them, kind of Warhammer Fallout. But we went a lot deeper than that. We wanted something not just a battle game, because everyone else, Games Workshop, Private Press, everyone else does competitive games very, very well. We wanted something a bit more special because Fallout is a role-playing experience for you. It's a storytelling experience. There's so much going on, so many interesting characters. So we wanted to create a game that told deep stories on the tabletop that was as much about solving the mystery, unlocking the computer, finding the missing person, as much as fighting. And that was as important. And as part of that, we said, okay, we want to be able to play cooperative together against the game, which also means I can play solo against the game. And we wanted a very good AI that doesn't just attack the strongest guy. The AI in our game, it goes after the objective, or then it decides it's going to take you out because you're the strongest person nearest the objective. So it's very clever without having very complex rules. Every different unit acts with different AI. There's not a central AI.
That's impressive, yeah. And like you said, it's all about the campaign. You can play it solo, you can play it cooperative, you can play it versus each other.
Yeah.
Can you please describe like how the campaign works, how the scenarios work, and how maybe the characters get stronger with each scenario?
Sure. So, well, as I said, we have several game modes. You do have battle mode. If you're just the gamer that's like, no, I just want to have a half-hour, 1-hour fight, that's fine. You can download the unit cards and the weapon cards for free, and just with the miniatures. Even the rules are free to download. So there is campaign mode, where we're building a settlement. The settlement is something you do on paper. So you start with maybe a generator and a water pump, and you're gradually adding more to your settlement as you earn caps in games. So as I earn more caps, I can pay for more equipment for my settlement. What that does is actually give me more control over the cards I can have for my force. So if I find a laser rifle in the game, I can't keep it because it probably breaks after I use it. But if I've got a weapon repair desk, I can keep it repaired and I can put it into my deck and randomize it, and maybe I'll be able to bring that to the next game. It's very flexible. We can play different types of games. And all the scenarios, like in the base game, you have 5 AI scenarios, you have 5 tutorial scenarios, you have 5 battle mode scenarios, and you have 5 campaign scenarios that are designed to be played in sequence. So we're adding to those all the time.
Okay, you're adding scenarios, and I've heard that you're planning to add 3 more factions.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so to start with, you've got Survivors, Super Mutants, and the Brotherhood of Steel. Yeah. So we're about to add the Raiders next year, in the new year. So obviously they're the faction you'll have a lot more of, because they're more grunts, and just crazy, throwing, they're shotguns, throwing Molotov cocktails. And then after that, we've got the Institute, who are obviously more like the androids and robots. And then you've got the Enclave, who are the more militaristic, much more power armor, most of their guys in armor, kind of like the ex-army, government force. And beyond that, we're also expanding smaller factions. So you're going to see the Gunners, you've got Vault Dwellers, like Vault Security, more Vault Survivors, so they can be neutrals. You've got all sorts of other smaller groups of characters that you see from the Wasteland.
Obviously the game plays in the Fallout universe.
Yeah.
Is it set in any specific time? And can we expect to meet or play as some known characters?
Yeah, so we've obviously started with Fallout 4, had the most sales. It's the most familiar to people right now, but I know people love previous Fallout games. I started with, Fallout 2, I had the PlayStation Fallout, all kinds of older games. So we've already started with well-known characters. You've got the sole survivor, Nate and Nora. You've got Codsworth, you've got Preston Garvey, Ronnie, Sturgis, etc. All the familiar characters and a lot more from Fallout 4. But we're also going back already. So like I said, we've got a lot of the Enclave characters coming. We've got already Frank Horrigan from Fallout 2. So it's a lot of the big bads are coming in. We've shown off the Master as a kind of big crazy character. We've got the Mechanist from Fallout 3 and 4 as well. With a lot of different creatures. So we've got so much from Fallout 4 to develop, which is already done, and now we're working our way back through the older Fallout games to introduce new characters.
That's cool. But let's talk about the rules now for a bit, because it's a tabletop game, of course. Yeah. But what would you say differentiates it from other tabletop games? What's the most unique feature, maybe?
Well, I think one of the unique things is the fact that you can play cooperative together as a miniatures game and solo, which is a huge market now. The system uses pretty coloured dice and coloured rulers. The great thing is you don't need to keep checking the rules to see if you move 6 inches, at 7, 8, it's red. I always move red. And the human mind it's very simple to remember a red colour, and you start to visualize how far red is. But saying 6 inches, you don't visualize so easily. It's a really odd thing. And the symbols make it very easy to start to remember what you can do. So if you know that your weapon rolls green dice at long range, you know that you're more accurate. If you roll yellow dice, you're going to penetrate more armor. If you roll black dice, you do more damage.
But what happens if you lose a scenario? Is your group then dead, or?
No. I mean, if you lose a scenario, you just start the next scenario. There'll be some different ways that you start the scenario. So you're never completely dead, because you buy your force again with the points in the next game. So now you can lose your leader, and then you pick a new leader, they get the leadership ability. So there's various ways, and we're actually adding in some new things. We're announcing tonight at our party, the Wandering mode, which is a new version of the game that uses all your cards to create a random deck of things you might meet. So it's lots of new things we bring out as PDFs to support the community. So we brought out some extra AI rules, some extra cooperative rules. This is a new solo gameplay system, or we could just team up against the game in a random mode as well. And we can just wander and discover things.
So you'll continuously update the game. Is that your plan?
Yes, yeah, and we have a big new wave of releases in the spring next year with the Raiders coming, and then, as I said, but we're adding a lot more story elements in each of the box sets. So
nice. Yeah, well, we'll look forward to it. Great. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the interview. Okay. Und wenn ihr das kaufen wollt, es gibt schon zu bestellen, ja. Es wird schon geliefert, hier auf der Spiel leider noch nicht. Aber wie gesagt, einfach bestellen, guckt es euch an. Es ist auf jeden Fall eine Empfehlung.